Getting hired is harder than ever. CandidateFalcon.com. The exact hiring assessment you're about to face.
Feeling a little nervous about your upcoming HireVue game-based assessment? That is completely normal. These assessments feel different from the usual hiring steps, and people often get stressed simply because the format is unfamiliar. The good news is that once you understand what is happening, the whole experience becomes much more manageable. This guide is here to help you walk in prepared, focused, and much less intimidated. Let us start with the basics. A HireVue game-based assessment is a series of short, interactive challenges designed to help employers understand how you think, respond, and make decisions. Even though they are called games, they are not meant to entertain you in the usual sense. They are structured tasks built to gather information about your thinking patterns, your attention, your memory, your judgment, and your behavior under pressure. In other words, the company is not trying to find out whether you are a gamer. It is trying to understand how you operate. One of the biggest mindset shifts you need to make is this. Do not treat these challenges like random mini games with no deeper purpose. Each task is built with intention. Each click, each pause, each choice, and each adjustment can communicate something about how you work. Some tasks are testing how quickly you notice changes. Some are testing how well you hold information in your mind. Some are testing how you handle ambiguity, how you prioritize, or how consistently you respond. The format may look simple on the surface, but the purpose behind it is serious. So what kinds of abilities do these assessments usually measure? Very often, they focus on cognitive, spatial, and interpersonal or personality-related abilities. Cognitive abilities include things like memory, processing speed, concentration, and logical reasoning. Spatial abilities involve how well you recognize patterns, shapes, movement, and visual relationships. Interpersonal or personality-focused tasks are more about tendencies, judgment, preferences, and the way you might interact with other people in a work setting. Not every game measures the exact same thing, which is why the overall assessment is designed as a set of different challenges rather than one single test. This is one of the key differences between a game-based assessment and a traditional job application. A resume tells a company what you have done in the past. An application form tells them where you studied, where you worked, and what experience you claim to have. A game-based assessment, by contrast, gives them live behavioral data. It shows them how you process information in real time. It gives them a more dynamic picture of your potential because instead of only reading about you, they get to observe how you respond. That is why this format can actually benefit candidates who do not always shine on paper. Someone may not have the most polished resume in the pile, but they may have excellent attention, strong adaptability, sharp memory, or calm decision-making under pressure. These assessments can help reveal strengths that a resume alone may never show. At the same time, they can feel more intense because they are immediate. You cannot spend 20 minutes polishing one answer. You have to engage, react, and keep moving. A lot of candidates ask an obvious question at this point. Will I be scored? The honest answer is yes, but not in the way most people imagine. This is not usually a school-style test where you see a score out of 100 at the end. It is not simply pass or fail. Instead, your performance generates data that helps the company build a profile of your abilities and tendencies. That profile may then be compared with role requirements or with patterns that the employer associates with success in that position. So instead of obsessing over getting a visible score, focus on giving a stable, thoughtful, engaged performance. Companies use these assessments for several reasons. First, they can create a more standardized experience because every candidate faces the same kind of structured task. Second, they can help employers predict job success by measuring qualities linked to real workplace performance. Third, they can make hiring more efficient, especially when there are large numbers of applicants. Fourth, they can create a more modern and engaging candidate experience than endless forms and repetitive screening questions. And finally, they can help uncover hidden talent by showing strengths that are not always visible in a traditional application. When companies review game-based assessment data, they are often looking for practical traits that matter on the job. Can you stay focused when things move quickly? Can you notice important details? Can you remember information accurately? Can you make sensible decisions without freezing? Can you adapt when a task changes? Can you balance speed with accuracy instead of rushing blindly? Can you remain composed enough to keep performing when the pressure rises? Those are the kinds of questions hiding behind the assessment. This is why your mindset matters so much. If you go into the games obsessed with being perfect, you can easily sabotage yourself. You start overthinking, you second guess simple decisions, you turn every tiny action into a crisis. That is not helpful. The better approach is to see the assessment as a structured opportunity to show how you think. Your job is not to look superhuman. Your job is to stay present, understand the task, and perform in a steady, intentional way. Before you even begin, take the preparation stage seriously. Make sure your internet connection is stable. Find a quiet space where you are unlikely to be interrupted. Use a device you trust and feel comfortable with. Close unnecessary tabs and apps so your computer is not overloaded and your attention is not split. Let other people around you know that you need uninterrupted time. Have a glass of water nearby if that helps you feel settled. And most importantly, do not start the assessment in a rushed or chaotic state if you can avoid it. Think of this as building your own success bubble. You want your physical and digital environment to support your best thinking. Small distractions matter more than people realize. A noisy room, a lagging browser, a low battery warning, or a phone buzzing next to you can all break concentration at exactly the wrong moment. Creating a calm setup does not guarantee a perfect result, but it removes avoidable friction and gives you a fair shot at showing what you can actually do. Once the assessment starts, your first real task is not the game itself. It is understanding the instructions. Read everything carefully. Every word is there for a reason. Many mistakes happen not because the candidate lacks ability, but because they skim the instructions, misunderstand the objective, and begin playing the wrong way. Do not let impatience cost you. Slow down enough to understand what the game wants, because the first few moments of clarity can save you from a chain of avoidable errors later. Sometimes the instructions also hint at how scoring works or what matters most in a particular task. You may not get a full explanation, but there can be clues. Is the emphasis on speed, on accuracy, on memory, on consistency, on choosing the best option with limited information? When you understand the likely objective, your behavior becomes much more purposeful. You stop reacting blindly and start aligning your effort with what the game is actually trying to measure. Before each task, ask yourself a few simple questions. What is the main objective here? What counts as success in this game? Should I move quickly or should I prioritize precision? Is this testing memory, pattern recognition, focus, judgment, or something else? Just taking a few seconds to frame the task properly can improve the quality of your performance. It helps you avoid the trap of treating every game the same way. And once you have read the instruction and completed any available practice round, take a deep breath. That may sound basic, but it matters. A calm nervous system supports better decisions. A single slow breath can interrupt panic, reduce mental clutter, and bring your attention back to the present. You do not need to be emotionless. You just need enough calm to think clearly. Practice before the real assessment whenever possible. This is one of the strongest advantages you can give yourself. Practice is not about memorizing exact answers, because that is not realistic across varied games. Practice is about reducing novelty. The more familiar you are with the rhythm of timed tasks, the format of visual challenges, and the feeling of making decisions under light pressure, the less mental energy you waste on surprise. That saved energy can then go into actual performance. It also helps to understand these tasks as gamified challenges rather than childish games. They are designed to feel approachable, but beneath that approachable format, they are often simulating real workplace demands. Real jobs require people to process information quickly, spot patterns, weigh options, manage time, adapt to change, and remain composed. These assessments try to capture signals related to those behaviors in a short, scalable format. When you understand that, the experience starts to make more sense. Across the full set of HireVue games, you may encounter different categories of challenges. Some focus mainly on cognition, such as memory, numerical thinking, or mental tracking. Others focus more on spatial reasoning, pattern recognition, and visual problem solving. Others lean more toward interpersonal judgment or personality-related tendencies. The exact names and formats vary, but the important thing is to understand that different tasks are meant to surface different strengths. If one game feels easy and another feels harder, that does not mean you are failing. It means you are being measured across a range of abilities. This is also why practice matters so much. You would not expect to run well in a race if you had never trained. The same logic applies here. Practice builds familiarity. Familiarity reduces panic, and reduced panic improves performance. You start recognizing what timed instructions feel like. You learn how your own mind behaves under pressure. You become better at settling in quickly instead of wasting the first half of each task adjusting to the format. For personality-oriented games or exercises, there's another layer to keep in mind. These are not usually about finding one magical correct answer. They are often about identifying patterns in your preferences, reactions, and choices. In those situations, it can help to think about the company's stated values and the kind of behavior that role likely rewards. That does not mean becoming fake. It means being thoughtful. If a company emphasizes collaboration, accountability, customer focus, or calm judgment, it makes sense to be aware of that context when you reflect on your choices. Time management is another major factor across many game-based assessments. In several tasks, the clock is always part of the challenge, even when it is not the only challenge. Good performance is not just about moving fast. It is about using time intelligently. Sometimes that means making a quick, sensible choice and moving on. Sometimes it means not sinking too much time into one difficult item. Sometimes it means maintaining a steady pace instead of spiking into panic. Strong time management signals that you can prioritize, stay efficient, and handle pressure without completely losing structure. That connects to another crucial idea. Trust your gut, at least more than your anxiety. Many of these games are designed to reveal your natural processing style. If you constantly second-guess yourself, you can become slower, less consistent, and more mentally drained. Often a well-reasoned first instinct is stronger than a tortured, over-analyzed answer arrived at 3 layers later. This does not mean be reckless. It means do not let analysis paralysis hijack your performance. If the company shares results or a summary afterward, treat that information as useful feedback rather than a final verdict on your worth. Results can help you notice patterns. Maybe you did better than expected in memory-related tasks. Maybe you were stronger in visual reasoning than in timed judgment tasks. Maybe you stayed accurate but a little slow. That kind of insight can be genuinely valuable, especially if you're likely to face similar assessments again later in your career. And even if no official results are shared, you should still reflect on your own performance afterward. Instead of asking only, did I do well or badly, ask deeper questions. How did I approach the tasks? Did I understand instructions quickly? Did I rush when I felt pressure? Did I manage time well? Did I recover when something felt confusing? Reflection turns the assessment into a learning experience instead of a one-off event. Ask yourself what you learned about yourself. Did you discover that you are stronger at spotting patterns than you expect? Did you notice that your concentration is good at the start but drops when you get frustrated? Did you see a tendency to overthink simple decisions? Or perhaps you found that you stay calmer than most people would in a timed environment. These assessments can act like a mirror. They do not just test you, they can reveal parts of your working style that are useful to understand. It is also worth noticing which games felt most challenging. That is not a reason to shame yourself. It is a clue. The tasks that feel hardest may highlight areas you want to improve, whether for future assessments or for your own broader development. Maybe memory-heavy tasks expose that you need better focus habits. Maybe fast visual tasks reveal that you need a more practice working under time pressure. The point is to use difficulty as information, not as proof that you are not capable. At the same time, do not ignore what went well. Too many candidates come out of these assessments replaying only mistakes. That is a bad habit. You should also identify moments where you performed strongly. Maybe you stayed disciplined with timing. Maybe you adapted well when the format changed. Maybe you kept your focus despite nerves. Those strengths matter. Confidence built on real self-observation is far more useful than vague self-criticism. A very productive habit is to write down a few quick notes after the assessment. Nothing elaborate is required. Just capture what felt easy, what felt hard, what you learned, and what you would do differently next time. This simple habit turns every assessment into training data for yourself. Instead of starting from zero in the future, you begin your next attempt with insight. You should also reflect on the role your mindset played. Were you calm and focused, or did anxiety creep in and narrow your thinking? Did confidence help you stay decisive, or did fear make you hesitate? Did frustration in one game spill into the next one? Mental state affects performance more than most candidates admit. Recognizing that connection helps you prepare more intelligently next time. It teaches you that assessment prep is not only about strategies, it is also about emotional regulation. Another helpful angle is to connect your performance back to real job skills. If you did well in a memory-based task, that may reflect strong attention to detail and information retention. If you performed well in logic or pattern tasks, that may point to structured problem solving. If you handled time choices without panicking, that can suggest composure and prioritization under pressure. Once you start linking game behaviors to workplace skills, the whole assessment feels less abstract and more relevant. Eventually, you should ask yourself how you can improve next time. Improvement does not always mean becoming dramatically smarter in a week. Often it means fixing the basics. Read instructions more carefully. Practice more under time pressure. Build better pre-assessment routines. Reduce distractions. Learn how to reset between tasks. Stay aware of overthinking. Trust your preparation more. Small improvements in process often create surprisingly meaningful improvements in performance. Candidates also tend to have a few common questions. Can you retake the assessment? Sometimes that depends on the employer's policy, so there is no universal answer. What if you have technical issues? Usually there are support channels or instructions, which is another reason your setup matters so much before you begin. How long do results take? That varies by employer and hiring timeline. Do you need a webcam or microphone? Sometimes yes, sometimes no, depending on the full assessment flow. Is there a single right way to play? No. There are better and worse ways to approach the tasks, but there is not one secret trick that guarantees success. What does help is targeted preparation. That is where tools like Candidate Falcon become useful. Practicing with realistic, tailored prep helps you get familiar with the format, understand the types of skills being tested, and build more confidence before the real thing. When you have already seen the structure, the timing, and the pressure in a practice environment, the real assessment feels far less overwhelming. You stop treating it as an ambush and start treating it as something you know how to handle. And remember, the game-based assessment is only one part of the hiring process. After it is done, there may be a waiting period. There may be interviews, follow-up assessments, or other next steps. Keep your broader application materials strong. Prepare for possible conversations that build on the role you applied for. Send a thank you when appropriate. Keep applying elsewhere, too. Do not act as if one assessment now controls your entire future. It does not. The healthiest way to approach all of this is with seriousness, but not desperation. Prepare well. Show up focused. Understand the format. Reflect afterward. Learn from the experience. But do not turn the assessment into a referendum on your value as a person. It is one hiring tool, not a complete definition of your potential. If you take one main lesson from this guide, let it be this. Unfamiliarity is often the real enemy, not inability. Many candidates struggle the first time simply because the format catches them off guard. Once you understand what these game-based assessments are doing, and once you have had the chance to prepare for them properly, they become much less intimidating and far more manageable. So go in calm, read carefully, think clearly, manage your time, trust your preparation, learn from the experience. And remember that every round of exposure makes you sharper for the next one. You do not need to be perfect. You need to be prepared, steady, and intentional. You have got this.